They say that long ago the first ruler of Windsland, King Heath, reigned with a wolf at his side. The sacred beast had thick black fur and golden eyes. The wolf guarded the king day and night, and people came to look at them with fear and reverence. But one day the king made a mistake and went to the banquet alone. The king died after drinking poisoned wine. The wolf, left without an owner, disappeared into the northern mountains. But now, there is a legend about him. When one who is worthy to become the successor of King Heath ascends the mountain, the wolf will become his servant and grant him absolute sovereignty. Despite the restrictions of the church, this romantic story attracted many devoted fans, and a woman appeared who claimed that she was the wolf from the legend. Her hair was the color of a raven's wing and her eyes were golden. She knew more about King Heath than scientists. They say she often looked at the northern mountains with despair. She was none other than King Tristan V's second queen, Catherine Blythe. Well, stop crying. You are no longer a child. Save your tears, Ophelia. We will all die someday, the queen said to the maid held by the knight. The queen told the maid not to worry about her, and think about that child left behind. People in the crowd shouted, "Mad queen, witch, if you really are the wolf from the legend, then prove it." Catherine replied that she was not a traitor or a witch. "If there's one thing I'm guilty of, it's that I fell in love with one person. So I'm not afraid of death," the mad queen said finally. People in the crowd doubted. What did they want? What made them come before dawn expecting the execution of the queen? Perhaps in the farthest corners of their hearts, they all cherished the hope that they were all wrong and the queen was not mad, and that the legend will come to life before their eyes. But the miracle did not happen, and so came the end of Queen Catherine Blythe, the one who so proudly declared her innocence before justice. She wore both luxurious jewelry and accusations of high treason, adultery, black magic, and attempted murder. That same evening, a grand banquet was held in honor of Catherine's death. That's the kind of person she was. Her mere existence evoked fear rather than hatred. She was one of those villains whose absence brought relief, not joy. "What are you all chatting so happily about?" the girl asked them. Unlike the mad queen Catherine Blythe, the first wife of King Tristan V, Monil of Pembroke, enjoyed the trust of the nobility. This was the very moment when the jester met her only relative, Princess Verona. The jester bowed before her. "You look amazing, Your Highness," Duke Langston told her. "He's arrogant and short-tempered, so it's easy to tell what kind of person he is." The Duke replied that they were simply saying goodbye to the Mad Queen. The girl asked if they had fun in her absence. He replied that they left the best part for her. "Jester, tell us the joke you have prepared," said the Duke. And Princess Verona looked at the jester and said, "It is you, the jester whom my father adores." The guy got embarrassed and replied that her father just calls him over when he's bored and makes him juggle. That's all. Then the princess asked him for a joke. And after the princess's order, the jester gave a performance with insanely vulgar jokes about Catherine Blythe. All the nobles enjoyed it. They were literally bursting their bellies with laughter. Everyone except Princess Verona. She asked the jester how old he was. He replied that it was 14. The princess asked if he liked telling such jokes. When the jester asked if she liked them, the girl replied that they were too rough. The girl mentioned that it was no surprise that Duke Langston approved of them. But in future, she asked the jester to refrain from inappropriate actions in the palace. The guy asked for forgiveness and promised her that this would not happen again. An unfamiliar feeling forced him to freeze in place for a long time. "How dare someone like me be rude to someone so majestic?" thought the jester. It's amazing how people can be rude to each other or bring joy. But the natural joys and sorrows of human relationships are inaccessible to him, because the duty of the jester is to amuse others. This situation was unexpected for 3 reasons. Firstly, the very fact that someone considered him a person, and not just a buffoon. Secondly, it happened in the royal palace. And thirdly, the person in question is Her Royal Highness. The jester shouted at the sir to stop pulling him and let go of his hand. Sir asked not to make a fuss and said that he didn't bother him that much. It was Lord Ainsley, the Prime Minister and old friend of the king. He tops the list of people a jester should stay away from. "So what's going on?" the guy asked the lord. He replied to shut up and just follow him. Lord Ainsley said that His Majesty was upset and he should cheer him up. And he also added that the jester should grab bottles of wine while he was there. Sir was always like this, and it was not for nothing that the jester was wary of him. The king's room smelled strongly of alcohol and there was a lot of broken glass. The king asked who came to him. The jester answered, and the king said that he was tired of everyone asking him to join the banquet, and now they sent it. But the jester replied that he was only here to amuse him. The king asked him to come closer, and he asked what he could do for him in that case. The jester replied that he could do whatever his majesty wished. Then the king asked to show him acrobatic tricks right now. Since the guy forgot his balls, he decided to take the chance to pick up the bottles of wine. But suddenly the king threw a small knife into his hand. "Then use it," said the king. The jester was scared but still began to juggle with knives, and the knives cut his body as they fell down. The jester was covered in blood and the king stopped him. "You really seem to love her, your highness. Don't worry, I'm a court jester. My smile will never waver," the guy thought. When the jester was walking along the corridor, he saw a girl on the floor who was drawing. It was Lax, the second princess of the kingdom of Windsland. She is probably the sweetest person in the entire palace. Children's laughter makes the jester invincible. But what is she doing on the floor in the corridor? Lux was glad to see him. She showed the jester her drawings. On them were her mother, Ophelia, and herself. When the jester praised her for her beautiful drawings, the girl wanted to hug him. To which the jester explained to her that she was a princess, and if he touched her, he would be sentenced to death. The guy asked why she was wearing a black dress. The girl replied that it was Ophelia who dressed her up like that. The maid Ophelia opened the door of the room and called for Lux to come inside as it was time for bed. Ophelia carried Lux into the room and the girl waved to the jester. The jester smiled at the girl and made faces. The maid did not really like the fact that they were communicating. "Lady Ophelia, I am truly very sorry for the queen," the guy said to the maid. If anyone else had uttered these words, it would have amounted to dangerous political speech. But no one cares about the jester's opinion. What he said were just words of consolation. Ophelia thanked him. The world is a very interesting place. When the guy peeked through the crack in the door as Ophelia packed Lux's things into a suitcase, the girl watched the maid from her bed. "Jester, it won't be good if they see you snooping around," said Princess Verona. The guy replied to Her Highness that he was not snooping, but she showed him to shut up and stand quietly. The princess asked if he knew what they were doing. The girl and the maid are preparing to leave. A proposal was voiced to annul the marriage of the king and Catherine. The trial was supposed to end today. This child is no longer a princess and will be declared illegitimate. Princess Verona believed that this was for the best. A child born to a traitor would be killed. She would not survive here. The princess noticed the blood and asked the jester if he was wounded and what happened to him. The jester replied that His Majesty wanted to see something funny, so he injured himself while performing a trick. "At times I really don't understand my father. How can a monarch allow himself to be so irresponsible? Still lusting after this woman? She hides in her chambers like some capricious child," the princess said and left. The jester and Princess Verona were sitting next to each other in the room. Verona asked the guy why he was looking at her like that. He replied that she was very beautiful. In fact, everyone has those embarrassing memories that haunt them before bed. It was one of those moments for the jester. After all, he was so stupid at 14. The guy told the princess that she was beautiful and a little scary, but she seems like a good person and energetic. It seemed to Verona that the medicine was to blame for his confessions. The princess said that the medicine they gave him for his wounds seemed to be quite strong. The jester asked why she was so kind to him. The girl replied that the jester does not seem to expect anything from other people. The princess was reading a book. It was a collection of poems by Cicero. She asked the jester if he knew who it was, but the guy didn't know. Then Verona said, "Then listen to this. It sounds lovely." And then the princess read him Cicero's love letter in a low voice. Distraught that his beloved is doomed to death, the poet tries to immortalize her image in his poems. Then the jester learned that writing would be pleasant. The princess asked the guy if he liked it. He replied that it was wonderful. The girl said that from now on, if he wants to make fun of this woman, he must use such refined expressions. The jester did not understand her. Then Verona asked the jester to make a joke for her. The guy thought that he could not disobey her. And even if she asks to dip the most beautiful thing in the mud, he will not disobey. So, the jester twisted Cicero's love letter into the most sophisticated, graceful, and poisonous joke he ever uttered. His performance seemed to burn his throat. But the princess laughed. 6 years have passed since then. It was sudden, wasn't it? They say good times fly by, and the guy was sure that today would be another wonderful day. But his thoughts were interrupted by Lord Ansley, who called out to him. and the jester began to run. But remembering that in the days of his glory, this man was an outstanding knight, the jester stopped. The jester realized that he would need to entertain the king again, and asked what upset his majesty this time. The lord did not want to answer, but the jester tricked him into telling him. This morning the cardinal had an audience with his majesty. The jester noticed the cardinal's carriage from the window. So from that moment on, the king did not leave his chambers. "My God, he will never change," replied the jester. The lord asked to go with him to the king's chambers since he had told him everything in detail about what happened. The church believes that the king is an intolerable troublemaker, and the king thinks that the church is like annoying flies. Ever since the first Queen Monil Pembroke fell ill and died, His Majesty had been constantly at odds with the church over women. Catherine Blythe was the one who announced the glorious beginning of this conflict. Sometimes Lord Annesley says through gritted teeth that Catherine took His Majesty's heart with her when she died. They knocked on the door and opened it. The king lay in the dark and the room was hard to breathe from the smell of tobacco. The king's former self shattered into thousands of pieces in Catherine's absence. Lord Annesley was horrified that His Majesty had a meeting in 20 minutes, and he still needed to prepare for it and get himself in order. The king did not want to get up. Then the lord asked why he had made a trade deal with Khalid, probably just to get their hands on them. His Majesty replied that Lord Annesley was as annoying as the church. "Why the devil did he forget here?" the king asked the lord when he noticed the jester in the room. The jester replied that he would be grateful if His Majesty would pretend to be glad to see him. After all, he saved his life. The king did not understand what the jester wanted to say by this. Then the guy joked that the door was locked and the king could not get out. And the jester asked why His Majesty was still in his chambers if he had a meeting in 20 minutes. "So you thought a little, Your Majesty. I'm talking about succession to the throne, of course." "You have put it off too long," Lord Annesley finally said. The king replied that he would have to do something. Then the lord asked if he would listen to the church and appoint Princess Verona as heir. But the king replied, "No, not this child." His Majesty used every possible excuse not to appoint an heiress. He claimed that no one could match his excellent rule. But who would agree with this? Princess Verona is the perfect choice. She has already proven that she can be an excellent leader of the nobles, thanks to her eloquence, determination, and determination. Unlike the king, she maintains a strong strategic relationship with the church. However, His Majesty still did not change his mind. But Verona and the others didn't understand why he kept pushing his own daughter away. "She is too much like him," the king admitted to Lord Annesley. But he did not understand who His Majesty was talking about. "For my brother," the king clarified while Lord Annesley helped him dress for the reception and put the crown on his head. When His Majesty and Lord Annesley left the room, the jester stood thinking. It seems that His Majesty is still haunted by the ghosts of the past. Believe it or not, Tristan V, the current king of Windsland, was just a humble second child, the odd one out in the royal family. The heir to the throne was his older brother, Klaus Channing. King Klaus was a great leader. The years of his reign are considered the golden time of Windsland. At that time, neither the nobles nor the church dared to undermine the authority of the crown. Alas, all this is a thing of the past. Our beloved King Tristan V seized the throne, washing his hands in the blood of his brother. Objectively speaking, His Majesty is a pure triumphant. So why doesn't he have the appropriate authority? Late in the evening, when the jester was sitting on a park bench and looking at the stars, Lord Annesley approached him, and the lord said that the princess was looking for him. The jester wondered if Princess Verona might be suffering from insomnia, or is this a Princess and the Pea situation? No, it wasn't a very funny joke. "I said, get out!" Princess Verona shouted at the maids who ran out of her chambers. The jester did not understand what was happening. The refined princess, who never raised her voice, was now screaming and smashing everything around her in the room. "How is this possible?" thought the jester. "This is so shameless. Father has really gone crazy. I can't stand it anymore. If he continues to behave like this, then I won't be able to stay away." The princess cried to the jester. The jester asked her what happened. But the princess continued to lament that the king despises her so much, but is it enough to overthrow her? Then the jester clarified what His Majesty said this time. The princess replied that he completely avoided answering her question, and it looks so pathetic how he clutches at straws to pull off such a vile trick. "Jester, I found the joke of the century for you. Are you ready to hear it?" asked Princess Verona. The guy looked at the girl carefully, and she said with despair and pain, "This child is returning to the palace. Daughter Catherine returns to the palace. How long are you going to delay the announcement of the heiress? You must appoint someone as quickly as possible and restore the greatness of the dynasty," they said at the reception. "I have restored my marriage to Catherine Blythe, and I am going to appoint her daughter, Lux Channing, as princess. She will enter the palace as a potential heir," the king answered them. The ambassadors at the reception were outraged, and the king said that he had not yet appointed Lax as heir. "I am simply giving her a fair opportunity to enter the fight like blood from my blood." Lord Annesley leaned over the throne to say something to His Majesty, but the king said decisively, "My official heir will be announced when Lax comes of age." "Will you reign in anger, Your Highness?" His Majesty did not assume any malice, and he thought about this decision for a long time. Lord Annesley reassured Princess Verona. Verona replied that it must be tiring, constantly running around and cleaning up after her father. Lord Annesley replied that he was simply doing what he had to do. And the jester just stood there and was silent. What was he thinking when he seized power? "I just do not understand. Is this the paradise he dreamed of?" The princess thought out loud. A state in which the nobles are blissful, while the rest of the subjects are starving. Winsland's golden time is past. Now there is nothing left but a beautiful picture. Her Highness admitted that at times she thinks it would have been better if her father had never become king. Lord Annesley asked her not to say nonsense. Princess Verona said that it was just impotent anger, enough to drive you crazy. Then Lord Annesley took the princess by the hand and reminded her of one point. "Do you remember what you told me when we first met? Then I had just returned from the Western expedition, and you learned to speak in whole sentences while I was away. You may have forgotten, but you had the softest cheeks in all of Winsland. I pinched them so often that I was forbidden to see you. The only gift I received from the endless war was the oblivion of that order by His Majesty." Little Verona then asked him, "Should you go to war as soon as you become king?" And young Lord Annesley answered the little girl that there are a lot of rules in this world, and whether to go to war or not, that should be her decision. The girl then said, "I don't want to be the commander-in-chief in a war, but I hate those who don't know how to fight a war." Then Lord Annesley thought, "If time permits, I will serve this man with all devotion." He told this to the princess, taking her hand. The princess calmed down and he added, "Your father sooner or later will realize your value, Your Highness. This is his concern, not yours." As expected of Lord Annesley, he may be as cold as ice, but he always tells the truth. The jester stood there all this time like a fool, but it didn't matter at all to him. When Her Highness told the Lord that he must be tired and could go, he and the jester rejoiced. But the princess asked the Lord to leave her, this child, and leave. Lord Annesley replied that it was too late. The princess said that she understood and that he was afraid of strange rumors that would spread among the nobility. And he is afraid of talking about a frivolous princess spending her nights with a jester. But the princess believed that these were their problems, not hers. At such moments, the jester became incredibly embarrassed. He did not understand how the princess treated him. "Only I can be the one who is angry here. Why do you have such a face?" asked the princess. "Actually, I remembered an old story to cheer you up, Your Highness," the guy replied. "But Lord Annesley beat me to it." Then the princess asked with interest what kind of story he wanted to tell her. This was supposed to be a story about their first meeting. The princess told the jester not to worry, because she remembers their first conversation as if it was yesterday. The jester thought how shameless it would be to allow himself to believe that these fleeting kind words were a symbol of her special attitude towards him. Princess Verona replied that she did not know that solace could be found in memories on a night such as this. The jester replied that it was because it was from childhood. Then Verona said that she would share one of her memories in response. When she was little, the library was her playground. Little Verona created her own kingdom with a castle made of books, and the characters in the books were her subjects. The jester said that this was very nice and asked him to continue. Later, Verona read all the books from which her castle was built, and she grew so tall that she could no longer fit inside the castle. And not only did her body mature, she was no longer interested in children's games. The girl left that castle in the past, but as soon as she looks back, she sees her father in it. The jester silently imagined the princess's past and saw an invisible trace of loneliness that continues to this day. Some things were familiar to him. They say that lonely people understand others better. If the princess understood him this way, it would more than compensate for his feelings. Of course, he wouldn't dare write to her about his feelings. How does he even know about love? But the moon that night was especially beautiful. The jester always feels a little lonely in the morning, but for some reason today it was felt too acutely. Is it because last night felt like a dream? Neither a child, nor an adult, nor a clown, nor a person. Every time he looks into those impersonal eyes in the mirror, he feels emptiness. But now is not the time for feelings, it is time to start the day as a jester. That's what the guy thought when he washed his face and looked at the drawing of little Lux, which was cheerful on his wall. Aunt Gertrude fed the guy oatmeal. She is very caring, and the guy was very grateful to her for this, but he didn't really like that she treated him like a child. The guy told his aunt that Princess Lax was returning to the palace soon, and he must repent. He is incredibly sorry for Princess Verona, but Princess Lux will be back soon. This charming, sweet little princess. The jester was crazy about her. After all, a real jester lives only for the sake of children. The jester wondered what he could do for the princess now. After all, before he played with her, pranked her, asked her riddles, showed her tricks. Aunt Gertrude said he should just keep doing the same thing. And she said that sometimes the best answer lies on the surface. The guy thanked his aunt and ran, rejoicing that now there was no need to prepare a grand reception. He decided to bring back happy memories to her. His cheerful thoughts were interrupted when he saw guys in knightly armor demanding coins from a simple guy, a scientist, and he asked them to return his book. The jester knew that the leader of these robbers, Knight Penton, this was an outstanding knight, a student who even had several audiences with the king. Despite his young age, he aims for the highest position. Why are all talented people such bastards? The jester greeted the knights and asked to let the boy go. After all, anyone looking at him will immediately understand that he is an aspiring scientist without a penny in his pocket. "What do you think you are?" asked Knight Penton, placing his sword on the jester's shoulder. The jester answered him that he was just a jester, without a name or origin. The knight said that it is good that he understands this and knows his place. Then the guy asked what the jester could offer them in return. The jester invited them to look at his hand, which contained 4 coins. When Penton reached out to take them, they disappeared. The guy was indignant. "What kind of joke is this?" "Excuse me, these little bastards are afraid of strangers and have escaped into my breast pocket." And from his breast pocket, the jester took out multicolored flags on a rope. The jester apologized and promised that this was the last time. And in fact, the coins are in his hat. The knight said that if he was lying, he must prepare to lose his life. But the jester swore that this was the last time. Suddenly, a dozen doves flew out of the jester's hat and flew at the knight and his assistants. And the jester and the scientist guy ran towards the castle. When the guys disappeared behind the castle wall, the stranger thanked the jester and introduced himself as Lennox. He was chosen for a charity training program from the Princess of Verona. Lennox asked his new friend to accompany him to the observatory. The jester said that he knew the way and asked to follow him. The jester asked if the guy always talks so strangely. His speech was just a little unusual. Lennox replied that he lived with his uncle and had no friends. Then the jester asked how old he was and whether he had ever played games. The guy replied that he was 12 and one day he learned a new astronomical formula and his uncle gave him a sugar cube. "What about tag and tag?" asked the jester. Lennox said no. Then the jester thought, what a boring childhood. After all, the main job of a jester is to protect the innocence of childhood. Then the jester asked Lennox if he had ever been to the circus. The guy didn't know what it was, and the jester said that every summer the circus sets up a tent on the square, and there is a lot of delicious food there. "Have you ever tried baked apples with caramel and cinnamon? Or fried potatoes in pieces?" the jester asked the guy. Lennox was eager to try these delicious dishes and asked what else was there. And the jester showed him the stairs and said that there was an observatory there. The jester said that unfortunately it was time for them to say goodbye. The guy asked, "What about the circus?" And the jester asked him to be silent, because there are too many old people here who hate fun. He promised to sneak Lennox there, but he must keep it a secret. And the guy ran to the observatory with the thought that the circus seemed like an amazing place. The jester approached Princess Verona, who was practicing with the sword. The princess finished her workout and the guy handed her a towel. After drying herself, she showed him the knights who were training nearby and asked if they were trying hard enough. The jester replied that he was not sure, because in his opinion they should work as hard as they can. Then the princess asked what he would do if tomorrow one of them became king. The jester replied that he would leave Windsland that same day and invited the princess to go with him. But she assured him that this would never happen. "I never thought that I might not become queen. I was born to rule the country, and this is my destiny," the princess admitted to the jester. Princess Verona said she was not going to sit idly by while her life was ruined. The jester asked who dared to stand in her way. She replied that this was the daughter of that terrible woman. The jester asked how she could interfere with her. She was still small. The princess said that he did not understand anything. Princess Verona believed that anger runs in the blood, and even though she is small, she is still her rival. And Verona decided to issue a decree, as the Princess of Windsland. Anyone who shows even an ounce of kindness to Lux Blythe or her nanny will be severely punished. And she corrected herself that no one should even talk to them. "Mark my words, before the year is over, this child will leave the palace on his own 2 feet, the princess decisively told the jester. Princess Verona hugged the jester's face with her hand and said that this also concerned him. No matter what rights and concessions the jester had before, times are different now. The rights of a jester. The right to complicate life without realizing it. The right not to be serious. The right to live as if you were in a comedy. The right to laugh at His Majesty the King. And all these rights are needed to challenge the laws for the sake of human joy. If I talk to her, how will you punish me?" the jester asked the princess, and she looked at him and asked if he really wanted to know. The jester sat and smiled, but in his head he had completely different thoughts. "But still," I thought, "you know, Your Highness, I could not disobey your order." The guy was sitting at the table at home and thinking what to do. As soon as he thinks about the fact that poor Princess Lux will be unloved, his heart breaks into pieces. Aunt Gertrude asked what upset him so much, and the guy asked if she never received orders. For example, if someone talks to Princess Lux or is kind to her. The aunt replied that she had heard something similar, and she thought that this careless nobility was dividing the territory again. But the jester told her about the order of Princess Verona and that it affected everyone in the palace, including him. The aunt gave the guy fresh bread, and he picked out the crumbs from the middle of the bread. The woman said that, as always, he eats bread differently from others. She wanted him to always live the way he wanted, without regard to the opinions of others. The aunt asked the guy not to lose himself because of orders from above. The guy, standing at the castle gates, was thinking, he doesn't have much time left to make a decision. What should he do? It would be wise to heed Princess Verona's orders. But thinking about this, why is he walking along the road leading to Princess Lax? The jester saw a carriage drive up to the castle gates and they opened. He quickly hid behind a bush and watched from there. After the maid Ophelia, the matured Princess Lax came out of the carriage, and all the jester's doubts immediately disappeared. The princess he remembered as a little girl had grown up. The jester shed tears and thought maybe she still remembered him. Although, what does the old jester matter to the princess 6 years later? But nevertheless, the guy decided and came up to her from behind and patted her on the shoulder. The once sweet girl, now an angry young lady, shouted at him that he was a scoundrel. "Who are you, and how dare you touch me?" she added. The guy told her that he was a court jester, and he asked if she knew him. Lux didn't remember him. The jester understood that this was quite natural, and he should not be upset. At the time of their last meeting, she was only 5 years old. What did he expect? Then he introduced himself and asked if she was doing well. When the jester saw the girl and the guy at the gate, he quickly hid in the bushes. Lax did not understand what provoked the jester's behavior. The jester decided that he needed to somehow get out of this situation, and he told Her Highness that the palace was cursed. No one could hear her voice and Ophelia's voice. "And who cast this curse?" the princess asked the jester in disbelief. He replied that it must be one witch who holds a grudge against the royal family. The princess asked, "But why then he can hear her?" The jester replied, "Who cares about a humble jester? Even the witch forgot about me." But he warned the princess that if this fact comes out, then we might place a curse on him too. Therefore, he asked to make it their secret. Princess Lux didn't understand why she should believe him. Then the jester suggested that she go and check everything herself. Then she approached the lady with her gentleman, and the couple pointedly turned away and walked away from her. The girl went up to the bushes and told the jester that he was right, and they did not hear her. Lux asked if her father would hear her. The jester replied that he would hear, as would the prime minister. The girl thought this was strange. Ophelia was angry that no one had met them. and the suitcases in her hands were very heavy. The girl offered her help. The jester greeted Lady Ophelia. The girl was surprised that they knew each other because she didn't remember him at all. The guy asked the maid to go and talk to him. She reluctantly agreed to go with him. Ophelia scolded the jester that he was up to something. Then the jester admitted that the current situation in the palace was terrible. Princess Verona forbade everyone in the palace from interacting with Princess Lax. Ophelia gasped, "Oh God, poor princess, she already has a difficult life." The jester promised that he would help them. Then the maid, taking the guy's handkerchief to wipe away his tears, said, "Jester, I didn't want this, but I have one more request to you. Are you helping me?" The jester helped Princess Lux and Ophelia lift their luggage up to the floor in the freight elevator outside the window. The girl really liked it and asked the jester to give her another ride. Then the princess apologized for her misbehavior. Lux said she was here as the Princess of Windsland and should act like it. The jester did not consider her behavior unworthy. "Your Highness, how often do you have to control yourself?" the guy asked. Princess Lux was given the disposal of the chambers that previously belonged to Catherine Blythe. What heavy burden lies on her small shoulders? The jester asked Ophelia if the princess knew how Queen Catherine Blythe died. He was afraid that the truth would accidentally slip out of his mouth. Ophelia said that not so long ago. She asked about this with extraordinary persistence. So I had to tell her, but without the terrible details. The girl then looked so sad and matured that the maid involuntarily began to cry. However, the princess took her hand in hers and smiled sweetly. The jester asked how they lived all this time. Ophelia said that by order of His Majesty they remained at Richmond Palace. They could not set foot outside the palace, otherwise it would mean their expulsion. But she was grateful to His Majesty. Ophelia began to cry, and the jester calmed her down. The girl ran up to the maid and said that it was not her fault. After all, everyone is bewitched, and therefore they do not hear their voices. She told how she tried to talk to people, but they did not hear her. So it's not Ophelia's fault, and she's not being neglected here. As Lux hugged the maid, the jester thought, I could feel the princess suppressing her feelings in the depths of her soul. Only a jester like him could feel this because jesters restrain themselves day after day, and so on ad infinitum. What do you think, jester? Which of these three girls has sunk into your soul? Asked Princess Verona, stroking the head of the jester who was sitting at her feet. The jester replied that they were all very beautiful. But the princess insisted that he choose the one whose sight makes his heart beat faster. The guy chose the middle girl out of three, but he did not understand what was happening and why he was choosing. The jester asked Her Highness to explain to him what they were doing. Then Princess Verona told him, "Since I don't yet have the opportunity to ascend the throne, then why don't I choose the next queen myself?" And the jester was supposed to choose which girl. The man's heart began to flutter at the sight of which girl. The jester understood that the princess was acting behind His Majesty's back. He did not like these political manipulations of the princess, but the jester could not do anything. He had no choice but to follow her. Verona looked at the jester's chosen one and thought. Then she noticed the red-haired maid and called her over. The princess forced the jester to make the final choice. Of the two girls, the jester chose the first, but the princess did not pay attention to her. She approached the maid and asked her name. Her name was Annette. "My mother had the most beautiful hair. They were the color of tea with milk," said Princess Verona, brushing her maid Annette's hair. The maid replied that she had seen portraits of the queen and that she was truly beautiful. Then she corrected herself that she was not beautiful, but she is. Princess Verona said that Annette's hair needed to be lightened. The girl was worried, but Verona said that she had nothing to worry about. She will just need to apply a little fruit wine to her hair and stay in the sun for half a day. "You will become the king's wife, Annette. Don't you think you should look more appropriate?" Princess Verona said to the girl who had doubts. "Is she really coming?" asked the jester, watching them all this time. He told the princess that the girl looked a little naive. "And how can she charm His Majesty?" asked the jester, watching how the girl looked at the expensive boxes. Princess Verona replied that this was precisely why she chose her. The girl should be helpless. It is then that she will know that she will not hand it over when she becomes queen. Verona had confidence in this simple maid. "Is there even a drop of cunning or guile in this girl?" the princess asked the jester, but they still had a lot of work to do to make her a queen. Annette and the jester were sitting in the garden in the sun, lightening the girl's hair. The guy offered to change her towel so that her dress wouldn't get wet. The jester suggested that she bring her something to drink or an umbrella, because the sun was quite bright. But the girl refused. After all, the hair will then lighten unevenly. The guy told her not to worry. After all, it's already a pretty cute color. Annette wanted to look, and the jester gave her a mirror. But for some reason, the girl became sad. And then she told the jester that the reason was that she had lost her resemblance to her mother. Her grandmother said that her hair was like the most beautiful things in the world. Ripe apples, the glow of the sky before sunset, the crimson leaves of a maple tree on autumn days, cheeks of lovers, added the jester. The girl smiled. She found traces of her mother in all these things. The jester asked if she was offended by the princess, but Annette replied that she was not at all offended, and she would be embarrassed if her portrait was painted. After all, in the history of the kingdom, there have never been red-haired queens. The girl admitted that she had truly difficult times when she first settled in the palace. There was always one task or another that needed to be completed. And one day, when she was assigned to carry tea for the elders, she fell and spilled everything on the princess's skirt. Annette thought that she would be kicked out of the palace that same day. But Princess Verona told her to be careful and asked if she was hurt. "The princess is truly a wonderful person, do you agree, Mr. Jester?" asked the girl. "Of course she is a little scary, but if one day you get to know her, you will see what a kind heart she has," answered the jester. And Annette agreed with him. Annette asked the guy if he wanted to please someone from the bottom of his heart. He replied that he was a court jester and always wants to please everyone. But the girl meant it sincerely. The jester answered yes, but he thought to himself that he had amused many nobles. But there was one smile that he always longed to see. Even though he couldn't say it out loud, he wanted to see Her Highness smile. "I want to make her laugh," Annette suddenly said. "I wish the princess universal happiness. This will make me happy too," the girl admitted. "That's right, Annette. My feelings are exactly the same." The guy did not dare to say. The jester thought, Annette made such a pure and decisive confession requiring no further explanation. He wanted the same. When there was a knock on the door, Ophelia answered. It was a jester. He came to visit them. The maid said there was no need for that. And yet he came to visit Her Highness, Princess Lax. The jester noticed that the girl was very sad. She sat on the floor and played cards. The guy asked Ophelia if they had met His Majesty. The maid asked not to mention His Majesty in front of Princess Lax, since the king has not shown his face since they arrived, and the girl had to sit all alone in the huge dining room. The jester thought how His Majesty managed to fall lower and lower every day. "I'm already tired of this amazing ability of his to endlessly escape." Ophelia shared with the jester that she did not understand why he was doing this to them. She thought he was finally ready to accept Princess Lux as his daughter. The jester approached the girl and asked what she was doing, and she asked him why she was here. The guy replied that it was because she was the Princess of Winsland. And Lax said that she was not talking about the palace, but about why she was here in this world. And why was she even born? The jester did not understand why she had such thoughts. The girl asked the jester if he was the one who said that the curse did not apply to her father. "At the end of the day, we both live in our own worlds, separate from each other," Lux said. The jester believed that the princess should not suffer from such treatment. She should have been greeted by a soothing warmth, not deafening silence. The princess said that the dining room was cold without a lighted fire. The chair was very heavy, no one moved it for her. And the food they were served was terribly cold and tasteless. The guy thought how sad she was to see the empty chair opposite her, and not her father's smiling face. What happened to the princess was extremely unfair. And we are not just talking about the current situation, and about all the terrible things since that fateful day 6 years ago. The princess told the jester that there was only one of those cold dishes on the table that could be eaten, pea soup, and this dish can be found both on the table of the king and the commoner. "Then I wondered how good this soup is for people who can't afford to let even one log go to waste," Lax admitted. The princess silently looked at the floor, knowing that there were many unheard voices. She had already found the answer for herself. Knowing that she again had the opportunity to lead them, the jester had no difficulty in naming the reason for her birth. As the princess fell asleep in her bed, Ophelia told the jester how during their stay at Richmond Palace they had picnics on the hills nearby. And the princess often spent time with peasant children. One day she asked about black bread. The maid replied that this was the main food of commoners. Then Lux asked why it was so different from what they were eating. She didn't understand why she was eating white bread then. and why her nails weren't as dirty as other children's. All this time, Lux asked Ophelia why they lived differently from other people. The maid believed that the princess was truly a special person. When the princess fell asleep, they sat by her bed, breathing in time with her breathing. It's like caring parents sitting by their child's bed, always leaving the company of good people. The jester felt the emptiness more acutely than usual. The cold that then penetrates under the skin is so acrid that he no longer has the desire to encounter this warmth again. Suddenly, Princess Verona called out to the jester running along the corridor. The jester immediately thought to ask her about how things were going with Annette. Verona replied that her southern accent was not softening, and you need to start looking for a private public speaking teacher. The princess noticed that something was wrong with him. I violated your personal order, Your Highness. I spent time with my daughter, Catherine Blythe. And if you ask whether even jesters are capable of experiencing pangs of conscience, then the answer is yes. The proof is right in front of you, thought the jester. Next to the princess, he felt a little more human. However, this is only possible in Her Highness's world. But the jester answered her that everything was fine. The jester asked the princess if she would go to bed now. Verona replied that she was completely exhausted. The Duke of Langston and the Marquis of Canford engaged in a power struggle, and these two have no sense of proportion. But the princess reassured the jester that it was just a little comedy to prank her father. As you know, he still wants to meet alone with Catherine Blythe's daughter. Can you believe it? In fact, it's not even funny, said Princess Verona. At that moment, the jester realized why everything had gone wrong. This is the reason why His Majesty missed dinner, the jester burst out. Princess Verona asked how he knew about this. The jester said that he heard about this from some maid, and they went to their rooms. And on this note, the jester had to swallow the questions that were not asked to the princess, which were stuck in a lump in his throat. But he is her jester. The next day, the jester visited Annette along with Princess Verona. The girl looked great with her new hair color. Verona placed in front of Annette a large stack of thick books that she needed to read by the end of the week. The girl was perplexed by the amount of work. The princess asked to pay special attention to the plays and poetry of Cicero. She wanted the girl to learn them by heart. After all, the princess's mother could immediately recite any of Cicero's 154 short poems. The girl said she would try. Then, the princess noticed that Annette was wearing a blue dress today and asked her to choose a white or ivory dress from now on. And if there is no such thing, they will sew one for her. And now, the princess invited Annette to take a fan lesson with her, which will allow her to express her feelings without words. The princess asked the jester to play the role of her father. So your father noticed you from across the hall. What will you do? Asked Her Highness. The girl couldn't get ready for a long time, the princess insisted. Annette, covering the lower part of her face with a fan, made the sign, "Come and talk to me." Princess Verona praised her. Fine. My father is coming to see you. There are many other ladies in the ballroom, but my father's gaze is directed only at you. No matter how enthusiastic he looks, you must remain restrained, Princess Verona taught her. What is your name? The jester asked her, playing the role of the king. The girl replied that she was Annette and laughed. She felt funny that this was a jester in the role of His Majesty. Verona scolded them and asked them to be serious. Then they tried again. The jester asked her which house she was from. The girl replied that she was from the family of Baron Celestine. Annette showed with a fan that she was single and not in a relationship, and she told His Majesty that it was a great honor for her to get to know him better. The jester in the role of the king said that the night was incredibly beautiful today, and offered to admire it with him on the balcony. The girl didn't know what to answer, and Princess Verona asked if she thought it was too vulgar to express her love like that at the first meeting. This will only discourage the king's interest. The girl apologized and asked for a gesture indicating refusal. Verona asked if she planned to turn down his proposal. Annette was confused. The princess asked to remain restrained. Verona then replied that this would not help her move forward with His Majesty. Princess Verona took the fan from her and said that she would show her the gesture, but only the refusal could be used later. And she showed with her fan, "I will wait for you." The jester was heading towards Princess Lux. He wanted to show her a puppet show. It's been a long time since these toys came out for a show. The guy noticed Lord Annesley standing near the princess's door. The jester crept up and scared him. The lord got angry and yelled at the guy. The jester asked the Lord what he was doing near Princess Lax's door. After all, by her order, Princess Verona forbade everyone to communicate with Princess Lax. The Lord knew about the order but still came to visit the princess. The jester was glad that he was not mistaken about people. The guy promised the Lord that he would not betray him to anyone. Then Lord Ansley asked what he was doing here. To this, the guy honestly answered that he was going to meet the princess. The Lord called him a daredevil, and the jester called this the jester's right and asked what he had to protect himself. The Lord was annoyed by the jokes of the jester. Just as the Lord reached to open the door to Princess Lux's room, the jester said, "Oh, greetings, Princess Verona." He joked again about Lord Ansley. He was annoyed but tried to open the door again. The jester warned him not to be too upset if the princess did not recognize him. But as soon as Lord Ansley opened the door, the girl immediately recognized him and smiled sweetly. She was very happy to see him and called him by name. The jester was very upset that she did not recognize him then, but she did recognize Lord Ansley. Lux told the Lord that she could not forget the face of the one to whom she owed so much. Ophelia thanked Lord Ansley for the gifts he sent every year on the princess's birthday. Lux is absolutely in love with the latest dress. Lord Ansley apologized for not coming to see them at once, and now he came for a short time. The girl said she understood. This is because he doesn't want to get caught by the witch. The Lord didn't understand what she was talking about. Then the jester quickly intervened in their conversation. He explained to the Lord that if the witch realized that he was immune to her curse, she would use a stronger one. The jester had to explain in more detail about the curse that prevents anyone from hearing the princess's voice. Therefore, they cannot even answer her, and the princess feels like everyone is ignoring her. When the Lord finally understood everything and joined the jester's game, he greeted Her Highness and congratulated her on her return to the royal palace. After Lord Ansley left, the jester showed the princess what he had brought her. He said that when she was younger, she really loved these puppet shows. The jester said that at first glance, this may seem like a trivial game. However, this is a real masterpiece, skillfully showing the problems of the aristocracy and commoners. The girl couldn't believe that she liked this, and the jester said that she simply adored his performances and asked him to repeat them. "Princess Verona, how are you?" The jester heard Lord Ansley's voice outside the door of Princess Lax's room. Princess Verona replied that everything was fine. "What were you doing here, Lord Ansley? Didn't you just come out of this room?" Princess Verona asked him. Princess Verona asked Lord Ansley to answer her honestly. "Before you entered this room, did you know who now lives in it?" The Lord was silent. Then the princess asked again whose chambers these were. Lord Ansley replied that these were Princess Lax's chambers. Verona asked if he came here to see this child, but he replied that he did not come here of his own free will, and by order of His Majesty, to notify her of her mandatory presence at the upcoming ball. The princess clarified whether he came here just for this reason. "This child is getting too much care. I haven't seen the jester often lately. Do you know where he is?" asked the princess. Lord Ansley was stalling for time, and Princess Verona suspected something was wrong. She decided to check out Lux's room herself. Then the Lord stood in front of the door and said, "This child has a fever and cough. You might get infected." The princess replied that everything would be fine and asked him to leave. But the man did not back down. Then the princess said that she was tired of pretending to believe his lies because of her childhood affection. But now he was testing her patience. When the princess entered the room, Ophelia greeted her and asked if she was in good health. The princess replied that she learned that the child was sick and decided to come in. Verona wanted to go to the little princess, but the maid asked not to do this since Princess Lax was now unwell and had a fever. But Verona did not listen. And standing by my stepsister's bed, I thought, so this is my rival? I haven't touched a hair on her head, and she's already withering on her own. The girl touched the princess's hair and had the feeling that she was looking at a ghost who did not die, even if you killed him again. Verona said, "I can't wait to see how strong her blood is in you," and left. Ophelia told the jester that he could crawl out from under the bed. "My heart is still beating wildly. Just think, you came all this way looking for me. How long have you had suspicions, Your Highness?" thought the jester. The jester looked into Princess Verona's room and said that he had been told that she was looking for him. The princess asked where he had been. He replied that he was helping in the kitchen. Then Verona showed him Annetta in the dress that she would wear to the upcoming ball. The dress was beautiful, but the jester thought it was very familiar. The princess replied that it was her mother's wedding dress, and most likely he saw him in the portrait hanging in the hall on the second floor. Princess Verona hugged Annette and said that her blush was too bright. The jester said that the problem would be solved as soon as the princess took her eyes off her. But still, Annette and Queen Manil are like twin sisters? No, it's as if your portrait came to life and came off the canvas. Are you happy now, Annette? You said that the princess's happiness is your happiness, so why are you unworthy of having your own personal happiness? Thought the jester, looking at her. Princess Verona said that her mother was her father's first and purest love. Therefore, she was sure that her father, as soon as he saw Annette, would be overwhelmed by the memories of those days. Princess, you too can become happy even if you don't do anything like that. No, you deserve to be happy, the jester wished. The jester begged Aunt Gertrude to find him a tailor. She didn't understand what to do, and why suddenly in the morning the guy pestered her with such a request. The day before, when Annette was trying on the queen's dress, Princess Verona noticed that the girl felt ill. This was due to the fact that the corset was squeezing her too much. The girl apologized, but the princess calmed her down. Her mother always corseted her waist too much so that her figure remained as slender. Annette said that she would endure it if she had to. Princess Verona replied that if she fainted, then everything would go to waste. Or maybe it will play into your hands. When the princess said that all the tailors were already busy, something came over the jester, and before he realized it, the words themselves came out of his mouth. I'll go to the city and find a tailor, the jester said unexpectedly for himself and everyone else. The princess warned that we need someone reliable. A tailor must be capable, but at the same time not very famous. Princess Verona did not want to trust anyone with her mother's dress. The jester promised the princess that he would try his best. The guy told the aunt that it doesn't have to be a tailor, it will be enough if he just sews well. Then Aunt Gertrude remembered that her younger sister was deft with needles, and she will try to ask her. The jester was very grateful to her. While the guy and his aunt were arguing about who was stealing her bread, a guy in a black hood came to them. I beg your pardon, Mr. Theo. I hope you will be in my position, said the aunt. And at that time the jester ran out of the house. After all, this is a royal palace after all, a place where conspiracies and tricks run rampant. Jester, do you believe in God or a wolf? Asked Princess Lux. The jester asked again. Then the girl explained that some people say, I swear to God, while others swear by the wolf. The guy replied that he uses both options, but the second option is more often used as a vernacular. The princess asked why all the children she met in Richmond spoke like that. The jester replied that this was because the common people liked the legend of the wolf better. Lux asked why that was, and the guy replied, the more difficulties and adversities one encounters in life, the more one wants to believe in stories of this kind. So amazing, isn't it? Anyone can become king if chosen by a wolf. This is more than the salvation promised by religion, the guy said. Lax listened to him with great interest. She asked if there really were wolves in the northern mountains. The jester replied that sometimes screams could be heard from there. However, no one can say with certainty that this is because of the wolf from the legend. All this time, the jester was trying to find his toy frog for the performance. The girl said that he could show her the performance later. The jester remembered that this was her favorite game. Lux said she's not that little kid anymore. Actually, my sister touched my hair that day when she came into my room, she told the jester. Lux admitted that she was scared at first because she thought Princess Verona would pull her hair hard, but she only stroked them lightly. Her fingers gently ran through the strands of hair, but it was unpleasant at the roots, as if she could only their girl at any time. Looking at my hair, she said that she sees in me a ghost who does not die, even if he is killed again. What does this mean? The girl asked the jester. The jester asked her not to think about it, but the girl couldn't do it. Then the jester told her about his 5 jester commandments. The first commandment is, take nothing to heart. No matter how much pain you feel, you should smile and let the pain pass through your fingers as if it were water. The second commandment, don't be afraid to joke. The third commandment, don't limit yourself to creating riddles, become one of them. The fourth commandment is, thou shalt not try to be more than a buffoon. This means know your place. By following it, the jester will be able to live a long life and continue to play with the princess. And the fifth commandment, give your king loyalty but not your soul. If you break this commandment, then the tears will never dry in the eyes of the jester, and crying jesters can't make anyone laugh. It was a warm day and the jester was watching from the window. Lately he had often seen this scoundrel alone with his majesty. At first there were greetings on occasion, then they became closer, and now it seems they are already going on a joint hunt. Princess Verona asked the jester why he was so interested. Approaching the window, she noticed them and asked who it was. The jester replied that this was Penton the squire, a disciple of noble blood under the night. Verona replied that discipline at the royal palace was rather weak. Therefore, even worthless beginners act as they please. The jester agreed with her. Verona took the guy out of the room. The jester saw how upset the princess was. Usually in such a situation, the successor supports the king. However, today everything is different. Some unknown knight shamelessly took the princess's place. Once His Majesty's stubbornness falls, Princess Verona will be able to concentrate on important matters. The princess praised the jester because the tailor he found had done an excellent job. So the princess even wanted to reward the tailor later. Annette was delighted that she could breathe freely in the dress. The princess did not like the girl's behavior, and she considered this her bad side. The jester told the princess that Annette was quite smart and not bad, but Verona believed that she should not behave like that around her father. The jester assured her that Annette was capable, and everything would be fine. Princess Verona taught the girl to lower her shoulders and keep her back straight, so her neck would appear longer. The princess told everyone to come to the banquet in red. That's right, Annette will definitely be the center of attention. Verona saw this scene very clearly. A stranger with porcelain skin who appeared at a red ball. Everyone will talk about her being the reincarnation of the late Queen Monil, and His Majesty will certainly become numb the moment he sees her. After all, the flame of his first love has not yet subsided. It's like going back to the past where it was more wonderful and simpler than now. Annette's task was for him to simply remember her name. If it works, then this will already be half the success. This was truly a cleverly crafted comedy. Annette really looked a lot like the late queen. The princess said it was time to start learning the waltz. She called Annette to come to her and called the jester as a partner. The jester hugged the girl by the waist and asked her not to think of him as a man, so that she would not be embarrassed. They danced, stepping on each other's feet. Princess Verona got tired of this and she pulled the jester out of the couple and spun him around in a dance. The jester opened his mouth in surprise and pleasure. He looked at her straight eyebrows, smooth, neat nose, and moving lips. Every time he becomes hostage to her beautiful face and her gentle voice. The music whispered its melody to him and he was surrounded by the colorful colors of a kaleidoscope. Every moment was like a work of art come to life. Then when the present time seems to stop, the present becomes a collection of countless infinities. "What are you thinking about so seriously?" Verona asked. "At the moment I'm only thinking about you, Your Highness," the jester thought to himself. "His Majesty had a nightmare," said Aunt Gertrude after they heard the scream. The jester offered his help, but the aunt said that several people were already there. Suddenly, a boy approached them with blood running down his cheek. He said that it was His Majesty who threw the glass at him, and the king ordered the Prime Minister to be brought to him. But the problem was that he had already left. Then the jester told the aunt that he himself would go to the king, adding that she need not worry about him after all, he is a buffoon. When the jester approached the king's chambers, several servants were already standing there. He was told that he was just in time. If he succeeds in calming the king, he will fall asleep. The jester entered His Majesty's room. The king immediately told him to get out, but the guy replied that he had come to help him. Then the king said that he needed Louis. The jester answered him that it was night and the Prime Minister had long left the palace. "Does His Majesty hear these sounds, similar to the screams of dying soldiers?" The jester replied that the smoke from the boa seeds was harmful to his health. The king replied that he spoke just like Louis. If the Prime Minister had been here, he would have personally taken the phone away from him. "You can try to do it yourself if you don't value your life," the king suggested to him. "The road, very road," answered the jester. "Do you want to say that your life is more important than my health?" the king asked indignantly. Then the jester reached for his pipe, but the king hit the guy sharply, protecting his pipe. The jester flew to the floor holding his cheek, which was hot from the blow. While falling, the guy broke the hookah. No matter how hurt and offended the jester was, he got up from the floor and offered the king a glass of water, saying that his mouth must have been dry. What is going on in His Majesty's head? As a child, the king, born weak, periodically suffered from illness. Unlike his older brother, His Majesty, who grew up a quiet boy, changed nannies as often as he changed clothes due to his sensitive nature. Therefore now, alone in a dirty room illuminated by moonlight, this man fights numerous monsters. Looking deeper, you can see the remains of someone who was broken long ago. The jester held no grudge against His Majesty as he walked down the corridor, covering the wound on his cheek with his hand. But others cannot understand him. The melancholy of His Majesty raised the ears of the entire castle, while the tears of the jester are unnoticed, and then completely disappear without a trace. The jester noticed that there was someone in the kitchen. It was already late at night. It was the same thief of Aunt Gertrude's bread. The guy took off the thief's hood. "Princess Lax, why do you need so much bread?" the jester asked in surprise, not expecting to see her here. "I'm glad you came." "I just need your help," the girl answered. The jester asked the princess what she was doing here. "And isn't she satisfied with her dinner?" Princess Lux just pointed to the bread on the shelf. The girl asked him to take out 2 more loaves and cut them in half. This way they will be easier to transport outside the palace. The guy was outraged at how dangerous it was. The girl replied that it was not dangerous because she was returning before Ophelia woke up. The girl is going to take this bread to children from Richmond. Children living in flimsy shacks on the outskirts. Before this, they had never even seen such bread. "People in the palace don't notice me no matter what I do. I decided to use this opportunity to do as I wish," the princess admitted. Seeing the princess filled with a passionate desire to help someone, the jester thought that she was shining, and he decided to help her. Took out and cut the bread. The princess turns curse into opportunity, silence into communication, and night into day. As long as princesses like this exist, how can you lose faith in the royal family? As they crawled through the hole in the fence, Lux noticed a wound on the jester's cheek. The girl apologized to him for her father. The jester replied that it was not her fault. Then the girl took the jester's hand and said that they had to go. Every time he saw Princess Lax like this, he realized that she was the sister of Princess Verona. When they entered the clearing, the children were already waiting for them. They treated them to bread. Lax asked them to share it among all the children. The children thanked them and ran home. The jester asked the princess if she didn't know with them. The girl replied that there was no need for this. The jester looked at her in surprise. Her eyes looked at people from a completely different world. It's such a shame that she will never be able to be among these innocent children. The jester's job is to make children happy. The little princess brought smiles to children, so he decided to take responsibility for Princess Lux's smile. The guy asked the princess not to run away on her own anymore, as this could be very dangerous. She promised the jester to always take him with her. The next morning, the jester joyfully ran down the corridor to Princess Lux's room. But when he noticed who was in her room, his good mood quickly disappeared. "Jester, come in and meet me. My father chose this knight as my escort," said Lax. It was Serpentin, and the jester was not happy about this. The jester approached the princess and quietly said that he needed to talk to her. The princess scolded him for not greeting Serpentin. After all, he may think that the jester is rude to him, and with Serpentin, Lax will now be able to travel anywhere in the castle grounds and beyond. But the girl noticed that there are many people in the palace, including Penton, who are not enchanted. More and more often, she noticed inconsistencies in the jester's story about the curse. Lux tried to find a logical explanation for this. At first, she thought that the curse did not affect those who loved her. After all, in fairy tales, a witch's curse is usually broken thanks to sincere love. But when she saw Princess Verona, she realized that she was mistaken. The jester was about to say something, but the girl said that she understood everything. This witch is a beginner, and this is the only explanation. She wanted to put a curse on the entire castle, but she only managed to enchant half of its inhabitants. The jester began to laugh with relief at this version. In fact, the jester wanted to talk to her about the knight. For Princess Lax, having an accompanying knight means more than simple safety. It represents hope that her father has not forgotten about her. Relief at being welcomed back into the royal palace. Now she can freely consider this place her home. In this case, the jester decided that he had decided that the most important thing was her happiness. The jester asked Princess Lux where she wanted to go first, now that she had a personal escort. The girl replied that she wanted to meet her father, and now she was already standing in front of the door to her father's chambers. Lux didn't understand why she wasn't allowed out to see him. The Prime Minister answered her that His Majesty was now discussing important issues with officials, and they will finish in about an hour, but maybe longer." The jester watched them from around the corner. He understood that the king needed a lot of courage to make up for these lost 6 years. However, the king still remains beyond the understanding of the jester. The thought that he hadn't met his daughter at least once in all this time. Ophelia calmed the princess and invited her to return to her chambers, but Lax insisted that she would sit in the hallway until her father came out. Then the maid went to get a cloak for the princess, leaving her alone with Serpentin. The jester, watching from around the corner, did not like this very much. The lord approached them and greeted Serpentin, and when Princess Lux asked him who it was, he said that she still wouldn't understand. The girl was upset, but suddenly the door to the chambers opened and His Majesty, King Tristan V, came out. Lux said, "Father," and the king began to run away from her along the corridor. The prime minister ran after him, and Lax ran after them and cried, calling for her father. Running around the corner, the king almost crashed into the jester. But without telling him anything, His Majesty ran on. Princess Lux asked Lord Ansley where her father was in such a hurry, but he replied that he didn't even know whether they should go looking for him. Then the girl decided, since her father was so busy, she would come to him herself, and she and Ophelia, accompanied by the knight and the lord, went to their chambers. Princess Verona was walking down the corridor to meet them with 2 girls, one of whom was Annette. The jester watched them from around the corner. One girl deliberately stepped on Princess Lux's dress, and the girl fell to the floor. Lord Ansley and Serpentin helped her to her feet. The jester felt like the most cowardly person of all, who hid and watched everyone from the side, doing nothing. The guy reached out to knock on the door to Princess Lux's room when someone grabbed him by the collar. "Strange buffoon stalking Princess Lux all day," Penton said. Serpentin said that he could not believe that the jester was so stupid as to swear allegiance to the abandoned princess. The jester said that she was not abandoned. Penton replied that being neglected and abandoned are the same thing, and he thought that only the princess and her nanny did not understand this. When Serpentin pressed his sword on the jester's chest, the jester said, "Come on, kill me, just know that Her Highness will not forgive you for this." "And what will she do? Will he tell His Majesty?" "Only the princess cannot even meet His Majesty, let alone tell him anything," answered the knight. "Who said we were talking about Princess Lux?" asked the jester. "If you want to kill a tamed animal, then be prepared to accept the wrath of its owner." The knight let him go and left, saying that the jester should not hang around here again. But he missed one fact. If the jester always did as he was told, would he become the best jester of Winsland? Aunt Gertrude noticed how the guy walked past her without makeup, and was very surprised. The jester knocked on the door to Princess Lux's room. When Ophelia opened the door, the jester said that he had put all his soul into choosing his clothes. Lax said it was unusual to see him without a hat. "Ask? No, I order. Don't leave my side today," Princess Lax asked the jester. The jester asked what about her escort, Serpentin. The girl replied that she did not like him, and next to him her whole mood deteriorates. But the jester replied that without his accompaniment, she might be in danger. "Because of him, I couldn't take bread to the children yesterday. He doesn't leave even late at night," the girl whispered in the jester's ear. The jester told her that he himself went to them and distributed several loaves of bread when he realized that she could not come. Lux said he was a great guy. The girl wanted to go to the city today. She knew that the knight would come to her and ask the jester to stay with her, but the guy said that if she dislikes him so much, then there is one way to keep him at a distance. She can, like a princess, give him orders to keep his distance. As soon as Serpentin approached Princess Lux, she ordered him not to come close. He asked why he upset her, and Lux replied that he was just ugly, and what can she do if she doesn't like him? Then he obeyed the order of the Princess of Winsland. At this time, the jester was watching them in a hood. He thought that if he kept such a distance, they should not notice him. But the guy came across Princess Verona. Verona said that she did not recognize him and asked where he was in such a hurry. The jester replied that he needed to go to the city to run a small errand. The princess touched his face and said that it was the first time she had seen his face without makeup. "It must be difficult to hide such a face all the time," she asked. The guy replied that he was already used to it. Then the princess said that he needs to walk like this more often. She left, and the jester wondered if the princess knew that her faithful jester was carrying out someone else's orders. No matter how experienced he is, he will never get used to walking on this thin ice. Perhaps that is why his heart is beating wildly now. While watching Princess Lax in the city at the fair, The jester noticed how two hooligans were pestering a guy he already knew. He called the gendarme for help. When he dispersed the hooligans, the jester approached the astronomer, and he immediately recognized him even without makeup. The guy admitted that he bought a book on medicine and asked the jester to keep it a secret. His uncle will curse if he finds out. Before that, he only read books on astronomy, and his parents died from the disease and he wants to find methods of treating it. The jester had a great idea and said, "Lennox, do you still remember my promise we were supposed to go to the circus together?" It was a fateful meeting between a boy in need of a friend and a girl in need of an ally. And the jester took the guy by the hand and led him to Princess Lax. Every year around this time, a troupe of traveling circus performers comes to the capital to perform amazing performances, being fugitives from the fallen empire. When Princess Lux drove Serpentin away from her to watch the performance, the jester brought the guy closer to her. Now everything was ready for the show. Do you know who is standing in front of us? "The second daughter of the Channing family, Princess Lux," said the jester. When Lux turned around, Lennox immediately fell in love with the princess. The jester pushed the guy towards her. Lennox introduced himself and said he was glad to meet her. Lux was glad that he too was not bewitched. The guy said that he was an astronomer and was studying in the royal palace by the grace of Princess Verona. The princess was surprised by this fact. "Are you really planning to become the best scientist by gathering all your competitors and destroying them?" asked the princess. Then the girl said something else about black magic. But Lennox replied that Princess Verona wished to train teachers for the commoners. "But isn't this a good thing?" Lax thought. Then the princess asked the guy how he thought good people could do bad things. For example, her sister, is she a good person? Lennox replied, "Of course, she even often comes to the laboratory to cheer us up." Lux was at a loss after his words. Now she considered herself a bad person, not her sister. But the guy reassured her that we are all human and can do different things. They noticed a fortune-telling tent, and the girl decisively showed that they should go there. The guy said he shouldn't trust it. The fortune-teller said that the guy was born an unlucky man. He replied that fortune-telling by horoscope is just a baseless belief. Then the fortune-teller said that there was a person whom he missed very much. She suggested that it was my uncle. And when the guy answered no, she said that these were parents. Looking at his hand, the fortune-teller said that in the future he would help many people, but he needed to stop being weak and absent-minded. Lennox was surprised. The girl extended her hand and asked her to tell fortunes for her too. The fortune-teller immediately said that she was a member of the ruling family of this kingdom. "Your line, no, I can't say that, I can't do that," said the fortune-teller and ran out of the tent. The girl suggested the guy go to another place. The jester entered the tent called Mourning for a Forgotten Heart. He saw something there that looked like a coffin. He felt uneasy knowing that someone could be there. In fact, it was a structure with a peephole to see what was happening inside. Judging by the mechanism of this thing, someone can show pictures from the inside. The next moment, he drowned in the bright depths of his eyes, reminiscent of an icy lake. Long, thick eyelashes framed them like a crown. These were eyes that deeply pierced every part of his soul. For a moment, the jester forgot how to breathe. He didn't understand what this place was actually trying to show him. Forgotten due to the jester's duty to Princess Verona? Or is it that he abandoned his responsibilities and gave in to his feelings instead? As a result, he escaped. He ran away from the blue eyes of the princess that reproached him. He ran until the Whimsland wind washed away this image. Grief for a forgotten heart.